You know, I have, when we started The Blaze, we started with a bunch of people that were really unknowns, and we have seen so many people leave here and go on to unbelievable things. I mean, most people don't know Will Kane. He started his career here. Pete Hegseth began his career at The Blaze. Buck Sexton started his career at The Blaze. And Billy Hallowell. Billy worked with Dan Andros, who used to be a writer of mine. He was our head writer for a long time. Just fantastic writer. All those years at Fox, it was Dan that was writing all of those things, and he left to go to CBN. Oh, Christ needs me, whatever. And Billy Hallowell used to work at The Blaze, and he did the same thing. Oh, I got to go. Christ needs me. And so he's working at CBN now as well. You can find what he's going to be talking about at cbn.com/supernatural. Billy, welcome to the program. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right. So why did you do this, and what did you find?
You know, it's crazy. We went around the entire country looking for stories of crazy miracles, not just minor miracles, but, you know, claims that tumors disappeared, paralysis disappeared. And really the why was this feeling, you know, there's a lot of people out there who don't think miracles still happen, right? There's even people who are Christians who will say, I don't know if I think God is moving. And so we wanted to go out and test that. And we wanted to see, are miracles still happening? And I'll tell you, what we found really blew my mind. When we went into this project, I thought, okay, we're going to go into this, we're going to do this, and, you know, it's going to inspire me. It's not going to change me. I walked away, and you know this, Glenn, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. Yeah. But I walked away completely transformed and challenged by the insane things that we encountered.
Okay, so first let's just define what a miracle is.
Okay, so miracles, there's a wide range of things that miracles can qualify as, right? You have the small miracles, the things that we, you know, as Christians or as people of faith feel God doing in our lives, right? Those can be miracles, but you can't really prove them. Then you have the big miracles, the things like, hey, this guy was dead for 40 minutes and somehow came back to life, which, by the way, that's one of the stories, and we could talk about it, that we encountered along the way. You know, we were looking at miracles in this documentary that were 30,000-foot huge things that have scientific backing, that have doctors involved, that have really evidence, right? And so miracles, again, they could be a wide range, but we wanted to look at those big ones, and we could say, okay, is there proof? How close can we get to actually proving that these things happen? And by the way, you know, we went into these stories skeptically, because I don't think any of us should just go out and say, oh yeah, you know, whatever you say we believe. We really wanted to provide the evidence along the way.
I had horrible pain in my hands. I had a hard time moving them. I could barely work with them. I couldn't write or type or anything. I tried everything. Then I found Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free supplement developed by doctors, and it's safe to take daily. It made a real impact for me and so many others. Try their 3-week quick start now, $19.95 at relieffactor.com. Okay, so tell me some of the things that you found.
All right, so let's talk about the guy who was dead for 40 minutes. This story, when it came across our desk, we did a ton of research, dug into it. Jeff Markin is a guy who, you know, he wasn't feeling well, went to the hospital. He has a heart attack. He dies essentially inside the hospital. They call a doctor, an emergency room doctor, in. They're trying to revive him. They spend 40 minutes on this guy trying to revive him. They pronounce him dead. So this guy is now on the gurney, on his way to the morgue. Dr. Chauncey Crandall, who was the doctor in the room that day, he leaves the room. He assumes, well, this is over. The guy died. He's going to move on with his day. As he's walking in the hallway, this doctor feels God say to him, go back and pray over that body. Go back into the room. And he ignores it because he thinks that's insane. He feels the prompt again, go back into that room. And so he's like, well, I'm a Christian, I better listen to this. So he goes into the room, and you can imagine the nurse and the doctors, they're thinking this guy's nuts. He's going to come in and pray over this dead body that we've already declared dead. And so he starts praying over the guy, and all of a sudden he says to the other doctors, shock him one more time. And they're like, look, there's no way we're shocking him again because we've tried for 40 minutes and he's dead. And so they end up doing it because he tells them to do it. And immediately this guy gets a perfect heartbeat back. Again, they tried for 40 minutes and got nothing. And now the nurse is saying to the doctor, what are you doing? Like, now he's going to be brain dead after this. What's so crazy about this story, this man, Jeff Markin, had a near-death experience, which I'll hold off on that. You can watch it in the film, while this was going on. But he ends up 2 days later waking up completely fine. We interviewed him in this film. And so it's those kinds of stories. I mean, there's multiple miracles in there. And again, these are not just claims. We've got medical documentation. So that's the kind of stuff we were dealing with in this documentary.
So, Billy, the amazing thing is we all have these. We all think that, God doesn't talk to us. He didn't talk to me. I don't hear him. But he does. And it's those little things that usually, like that doctor, we dismiss. That's crazy. And you just dismiss them because you think it's you. And if you obey them enough times and then you realize, oh, wow, that was amazing. Why I turned around and did that because I was told to. And that turned out to be an amazing thing. I mean, not as amazing as that usually, but you start to discipline yourself to listen, and it happens more and more often. Or maybe you just notice it more. But he does speak to us, and it requires us to not dismiss it as our stupid little voice in our head saying, go back and pray over him. What? That's stupid. Now, why would I? Right?
Well, and being open to it. Well, and being open to, because the thing that struck me in all of this, right? And after we finished investigating the supernatural miracles and we were looking at the stories, all of these people, they had to fight for miracles. Like the other 3 stories that we cover in this film, none of them went to a prayer event and got healed on the first try. It was 10 years of praying and struggling. And that opens a lot of interesting theological questions, which we do deal with. We deal with not getting the miracle because, look, we all die eventually, right? Even Lazarus, who was raised from the dead, he died again. So eventually the miracles run out. But to your point, I mean, I'll even share for me, and I think this was a miracle. I was, really upset about a diagnosis my daughter had of scoliosis. I was in my car and I'm driving and I'm thinking, God, I'm like crying out to God, what are we going to do? Give me a sign that this is going to be okay. And Glenn, I live in New York. There aren't a lot of trucks that have Bible verses on them. I literally look up as I'm praying, and the truck in front of me has a verse speaking about God, comforting us and how it will be okay. In that very moment, I would say that's a miracle. And I think that's more like what most of us deal with in the day in and day out. And that is how God will often communicate to us.
Let me be real. Let me ask you something, Billy. This is a very personal thing. Sure. I have been praying really hard over my children, and there are some things that I just don't understand. And I'll pray, and I'll see no result, and it has really hurt my faith at weak points. Mm-hmm. It has hurt my faith because I've thought, and I haven't thought about him. I've thought about me. I'm not in sync with him enough. I'm not worthy enough for, you know what I mean? Yeah. Have you ever felt that way?
Absolutely. I think in all of this, especially when we're not getting an answer, and I saw this in the film, I've seen it in my own life. There is this tension that we have to live in. And I think this is really hard because we're human beings, right? This tension of, I'm going to trust God that I believe to the day I die, if I'm terminally ill or if my kid is struggling with something, I'm going to believe for healing or for better decisions or for whatever the issue is, because I believe it's possible and God could do anything. And I'm going to believe that till the very last minute, while at the same time, and this is where it gets hard, having the trust that if that thing does not happen, if the healing doesn't happen on this side of eternity, that I'm going to trust God and be okay with whatever that plan is. Yeah. Those two things are really tough. It's really hard.
Really tough.
But that's the death to self. That's the death to self that we're called to kind of live in. And that, I struggle with that all the time. I think we all do. And by the way, I mean, because I think this actually helps, that doctor in that emergency room who prayed over that body, his son died of leukemia a couple of years before that, and he fought for a miracle and didn't get it for him. And now this guy is living, he's able to have those two things, right? That radical trust. And so that really helped me, actually, seeing this guy who didn't get a miracle for his kid and yet still believes it's possible.
It is remarkable when you see people who can actually live with this. My daughter, she's been to all kinds of doctors. She's had brain surgery and everything else, and I have prayed over her so many times to get her seizures to stop, and they just don't, and they're relentless. And she'll say to me, "Dad, I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it." And she's really tired of them. I'm not worried about it. Lord's going to heal me when I'm in heaven. He's going to heal me. And that faith is just remarkable. Just remarkable.
Profound.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. It is.
Go ahead.
No, as a parent, and something like that, scoliosis, when I mentioned with my daughter, that is not a terminal illness. And I kept saying, thank God it's not something worse. But the struggle, watching your kid go. And by the way, we were going through this as this film was going on. And a lot of this, as I've been talking about it and promoting it, has dawned on me of how good God was in this particular circumstance. But just watching your kids struggle and suffer. My daughter went from a normal 6-year-old playing to being in a brace 21 hours a day, and not being able to do certain things. And you watch your kids suffer, and it is a profound challenge to faith. And that is where we have to rest in that trust, right? And believing that the miracles are possible, but knowing again that we may not get them. In the case of my daughter, she's out of her brace and they can barely detect scoliosis right now. Like, we had a real miracle, honestly, and I've been so grateful for that, but recognizing that there are other things that we haven't had that in our lives. And it is tough. It is really tough.
I want to talk to you about some of the other things that you found in the documentary, and you started exploring. So you thought it originally was going to be a 3-part series. And I want to ask you why you didn't do that. Why you're focusing on the miracles, because it was miracles, heaven, hell, angels, and demons, which I find fascinating. So tell me the story about the guy who apparently was paralyzed, couldn't do anything, and how that miracle happened.
Yeah, that Brian LaPoo, that story blew me away. They lived out in New Jersey. He was a cop. And it's so crazy how life happens. This guy is a police officer. He's out on patrol. He's walking on the ice. He slips and he breaks his neck. It just slips and falls, breaks his neck. And he ends up in a 10-year nightmare. Basically, he ends up paralyzed on half of his body as a result of the injuries and the surgeries that he needed to have. The doctor said, he's going to be fine. He was not fine, had no hope of recovery. Nobody had actually ever recovered from what he had and the damage he had. And so during these 10 years, he and his wife, Meg, they start going to prayer services and they start trying to get healing. And very similar to what we were just talking about, they're not getting healing. Nothing is happening. And he gets to the point where he's like, look, I don't want anybody touching me. I don't want anybody praying over me. I am done. And his wife says to him, and this is why it's so important that we encourage people, when people are no longer encouraged and they don't want to move forward, the wife says, look, let's go to one more of these events. Let's just get them to pray over you one more time. He says, no, I don't want to. She says, yes, just do it for my birthday. It'll be my gift. And so he says, fine, we'll go. They go to this event, and it is at that event that he gets his healing, that his hand opens up for the first time. He walks out of that event without his brace for the first time in 10 years, and we interviewed him. He no longer has a brace, and his condition is completely healed. And it's remarkable because it's on film. It's on camera the moment he was healed at this conference. Somebody captured it on a cell phone. And so you see stories like this, and it just blows you away because the persistence in the faith and the fighting, ongoing belief that this was possible. And, in his case, he got that healing.
There's so many people that will capitalize on this. There's so many frauds. Did you cover any of that?
What we didn't get into that because when we actually did the vetting for these stories, we made 100% sure that before a camera turned on or we went anywhere, that we knew these were at least compelling stories. We went in skeptically. We tried to poke holes and look, but we knew that these were people who, these people can't even get through their story without crying. And you see this in the film. They are so overjoyed and moved and transformed. So we made sure that we tackled those stories. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people when it comes to near-death experiences, all of these things, who will make things up to make money. But none of these people were in that camp, and we made sure of that.
So you were going to do it as a series, and you were going to go into demons and angels and everything else. You still going to do that, or why did you not pursue that? Why did you just go with miracles?
Yeah, so CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, when we went into this, it was greenlit as a 3-part series, 30 minutes each. And when we started filming Miracles, which was episode 1, like day one, we were like, we can't tell this story in 30 minutes. I mean, these stories need to be told, and we need to spend time on them. And with culture, what is happening right now in this culture, we have college students flocking to hear about God, where we have these moments, despite the culture crumbling, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, we wanted to provide proof to people. And so we ended up shifting this into a 3-part film series. So the second film will be investigating the supernatural, angels and demons, and that is underway. Right now, we've started work on that. We've started filming that. And it's going to be the same approach. We want to go in and show people, is this real? What do Christians believe? What does the Bible say? Is this true? And it's obviously a difficult topic, angels and demons. It's a little harder than miracles. But yeah, we are planning to do it. Yep.
Billy, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Billy Hallowell, I want you to see this special. You can find it at cbn.com, cbn.com. That's Christian Broadcasting Network, cbn.com/supernatural. Kind of a perfect thing to watch this weekend with your family.